Coming up on show 551, Chevrolet's EV for China, Ford working with Rivian, and what's the latest with solar roads? Plus, EV charging stations versus petrol stations, Toyota's plug-in hybrid scene testing, Audi's safe e-tron, and the Model 3 in South Korea. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the show. EV News Daily. Today is Thursday, 15th of August, 2019. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV story online so you don't have to. I'm trying to save you time with this. Thank you, as always, to myev.com. A new look for myev.com. If you haven't checked it out, then it'll be something that will surprise, hopefully please, and delight your eyeballs when you check out myev.com. You know, it's interesting. I was reading a survey only today on Clean Technica that a survey of 2,000 people in the US said that when they are buying a car, they still want to see it and touch it and maybe even drive it first, and yet they don't want the dealer experience. They don't want the hard sell. Look, someone's going to work out this problem in the future one way or the other, but I thought it was really interesting. The survey was done by someone called Urban Science, and one of the great things about MyEV is that you can browse that, no pressure, find the car that you are buying, or maybe you're selling, and then that will securely and safely connect you with the other party. Hey, let's talk about EV charging points. Here's a story which I swear we reported on back in May. The number of electric car charging points in the UK now exceeds the number of petrol stations. As an increasing number of Brits turn to EVs, says the newspaper City AM. I read it today. There are now 9,300 charging locations compared to 8,400 petrol stations, according to new data released today by Nissan. Now, although that data from Nissan is new, I swear it was back in May that as soon as the number tipped over, and that was done by, maybe like the website is ZapMap, but I've looked through my show notes history. I've not looked extensively, but I did a quick look today. I couldn't find the story, but maybe I should look a little bit harder. The milestone comes less than a century after the UK's first fuel station opened. Where was the first one? Well, it opened in November. The year was 1919. The county was Berkshire. And ahead of Nissan's previous predictions of August 2020, which was their prediction for how the crossover point, there is now about 1,000 more EV chargers than petrol stations in this country. Transport for London has installed over 1,000 EV charging points in the last year alone, with the introduction of the new ultra-low emission zone, the ULEZ, prompting many London drivers to switch to zero-emissions cars. I will put a link in the show notes if you want to read more. I'm going to go back through my old stories because I'm sure that we did a similar story earlier this year, but it's always a bit of good news. We like that. Talking of the ultra-low emission zone in London, this is something that is hitting more cities around the world as city authorities, local mayors see what's happening and think, okay, we can get a piece of the action. We can raise some money. We can ban dirty diesel and clean up the air in the city, generate some revenue from dirty diesel drivers, and hopefully benefit EV drivers. Of course, not so good if you're a soft hybrid driver, because some of those cars might struggle with the regulations because the regulations favour pure EVs and plug-ins as well. We'll come to that story a little bit later, talking hybrids today. Let's first of all go to China and Chevrolet and a new electric model. Chevy is going to present the Menlo. The Menlo EV, a fully electric. It's a crossover style, it's a full BEV, it's for the Chinese market, and it's going to be shown off next month in September. First pictures have been leaked for a certain reason, you see. Only a few technical details are known, though, according to Electrive. They had to publish these pictures for some sort of regulatory reason in China, and so we now see what the car looks like from Chevy. The Menlo EV is actually based on the Buick Velite 6. That's available in China as a pure electric and a plug-in hybrid. The body is a mixture of van, of station wagon, and of crossover styling. That's what can be seen in the pictures that General Motors had to present to the Chinese authorities as part of a declaration of the Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. According to the Chinese website, the powertrain is coming from local production, explaining that the Menlo itself, much like the Buick, is going to be built by the joint venture that is SAIC GM. InsideEVs writes that the battery will be supplied by the SAIC subsidiary called Era Power Battery Systems. So GM and Chevy getting in on the action in China through their joint venture there. Looks like a nice little car, actually. No details yet on pricing or performance. Let's talk about trucks. Electric trucks. Not semi-trucks, but in this country, we say truck, we think 18-wheeler. I'm guessing where you're listening, if you're in the US, you hear truck and you're thinking Ford F-150. In addition to the whack of electrified vehicles in its future stable, Ford will pursue 3 different paths with intriguing partners. They're going to get them all to market in different ways, according to Motor Trend. Ford is investing $11.5 billion. The numbers are just eye-wateringly huge. $11.5 billion will be used by 2022... So we're 3 years away to have, maybe 2 years away, 40 electrified vehicles, not full electrics, electrified. 16 are going to be fully electric, and 2 years away? That's ambitious. How are they going to do it? Well, a large number of the 40 are going to be plug-ins and soft hybrids. In addition to the engineering of its own EV architecture, Ford is using VW's electric platform, the MEB platform. They're licensing that and working with a tech company called Rivian. Yeah, you may have heard of them. They are the darling of the EV media at the moment. Rivian don't actually need to do anything more at the moment than put out a press release, and everyone loses their you-know-what. Well, Ford President and CEO Jim Hackett said this, and I quote, "Rivian is a really special thing that's teaching us about merging not only the powertrain, but the architecture and the electric control units and other things to connect to. So, think of it as architecture for the operating system of the vehicle. You shouldn't go down the path of assuming it's a pickup," end quote. Yeah, so Ford are working with Rivian, and they're not going to make a pickup at the end of that project? Sure. He says don't assume it's a pickup. Yeah, it's probably a pickup though, isn't it? As for hybrids, Motor Trend says that all Ford utility vehicles in the future will offer a hybrid and plug-in hybrid version, or both. Ford has vowed to be the top producer of hybrids by 2021. Well, that is 2 years away. Jumping ahead of Toyota, Ford want to be the leading producer of hybrids. And they've got plans to offer a degree of electrification on every mainstream vehicle they make. For trucks, the electrification of that adds efficiency, it adds capability. Of course, electric power is instant and always on when you hit the accelerator pedal. Those motors kick in instantly. An F-150 hybrid is due next year in 2020. Ford is working on an electric F-Series pickup, but no timeline's been given for that model. And where do you stand on this whole issue of hybrids versus plug-ins versus pure electric? So Rivian are making pure electric cars, of course. Ford have invested, oh dear, I hate it when I ad-lib and I don't look at the numbers. I think it's 500 million. It's not megabucks, but it's also not chump change. I think Ford have put about 500 million into Rivian to get probably a place on the board but more importantly, a partnership, access to technology to not necessarily make a pickup. Yeah, right, Ford. So that's where the full electric stuff comes from. Also, Ford licensing Volkswagen's MEB platform. But what about this claim that Ford wants to be the world's leading producer of hybrids? Overtaking Toyota have pretty much nailed their colours to the mast on that one. Can they do that? Is it feasible? It's not long away, and we're not seeing a lot coming out of Ford. All right, well, watch this space. So we've mentioned Toyota. Let's stay with them. They've been seen testing what looks like pretty much is a plug-in version of the RAV4. It's the SUV, and it's been pictured on European roads for the first time, according to Autocar. It's a prototype that looks like a pretty standard Honda CR-V rival, if you don't know the RAV4. However, look at the pictures. Close inspection, a disguised opening on the right-hand side of the car. It's opposite where the filler cap is. So that's a classic sign that the charging point is lurking underneath. The Japanese maker is already producing a plug-in hybrid with the Prius plug-in, but the 1.8-litre petrol unit in that is unlikely to be sufficient enough for the torque levels to account and the power needed for a substantial weight increase in the RAV4 SUV. And the straight hybrid model already weighs in at around 1,750 kilograms. This is awkward. for Toyota. And this is where Toyota, world's biggest car maker, I think have boxed themselves into a bit of a corner, and it's going to cost them a lot of money and using up a little bit of brand equity, using up a bit of goodwill to get them out of this. I don't know if where you listen they do this. I know that they do this in many, many places. I've seen really heavy ad campaigns, and I tweeted out one of those today for anyone who follows me on Twitter, at EV News Daily, of their ads they run, which says, "We choose not to plug in." They have really gone to town and spent a load of money on persuading people that plugging in's a bad idea. So, am I being overly harsh on Toyota? No. Their TV ads feature chargers covered in cobwebs, people waiting, like standing in the middle of the desert at an EV charger, waiting, insinuating, waiting for hours on end for their car to fill up. The one that I tweeted out today was Toyota's ad that "We choose not to plug in," which featured lots of plug sockets. Like a plug socket's normally got 2 or 3 different holes in, depending on what country you live in. And then the plug sockets turn all sad. They animate them. So the plug sockets, they look really sad, little animated faces. And they say, "We choose not to plug in." They have absolutely nailed their colours to the mast of plugging in your EV is a bad idea. It's why I wouldn't buy one. It's why I don't recommend anybody buys a Toyota. Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to. They're fine cars, aren't they? They're the world's number one. So people are buying them. They're doing something right. Smart people work there. But I think they've got their messaging. I think they just misjudged it. I think whatever focus groups they're using, I think whatever management are telling themselves, I think they're probably in a bit of an echo chamber there. And they're probably so far down this path of, we make soft hybrids. We make soft hybrids. We make the Prius. Our hybrid technology is the best. And it's really sad because Toyota led the way 20 years ago. They needed a special car with the Prius. But now they don't need a special car. Their hybrid technology has come on so far that actually, whether you're making the Corolla or the other very popular cars that Toyota make, you can just take your hybrid technology and put it in all of your cars. You don't need a special car called the Prius anymore, but they still produce it. Like, the Prius isn't the best car, actually, but the technology inside it has been very good. And they led the way for a long time. And they can now put that in their other normal models. Normal, I say. Their regular models. And they don't need a special car anymore for hybrid called the Prius. But they carry on with that because of the legacy. I worry that there's nobody ruthless enough in Toyota. And I'm sure there are people that are far more intelligent than I am. But to go, you know what? I'm going to draw a line in the sand here. We've got this wrong. The future is plugging in your car. The future is, on a 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you pick the time scale, fossil fuels will end. And at what point do Toyota say, we got it wrong? All right, we said to you, we choose not to plug in. You're going to have to plug your car in, even if it's a hybrid. And now they've been seen testing a RAV4 plug-in hybrid. Well, we think it is anyway. That's what it looks like to me. It's just awkward. I just feel bad for them. It's awkward. They are on a slippery slope if they don't turn things around. Maybe they figure they're big enough that, and they need to do what's right for their business. I get that. They've got employees and responsibilities to their employees and their families to pay those wages. So maybe they figure we'll just bluff it for so long, right? We'll just carry on telling people hybrids are great. And then at a certain point in the future, they'll go, no, wait. Hybrids? We didn't mean that. They're rubbish. Plugins are better. I mean, they're going to have to at some point. How are they going to manage that transition? Super interesting. It is really interesting when you've got a car maker as big as Toyota getting it so spectacularly wrong. You have to wonder what's going on. We follow it very closely. I know that I have some fun and stuff at the end of the show and all that, but this is like with my serious hat on. Don't worry. I will take my serious hat off now. Let's talk about Audi. The e-tron becomes the first EV to win a top safety award. Not the top safety award, but a top safety award. The subtitle of this article on Engadget is frustrating. It's frustrating for me, and I'm not even a Tesla owner. The subtitle of this Engadget article reads as follows: "Too bad, Tesla." And this is what frustrates me. Why does every EV story have to be about Tesla versus all the others? It should be about raising the tide. Okay, let's be positive. Let's not have infighting. And, the minute Audi does well with an EV, why has that got to be bad news for Tesla? Let's find out. Engadget say that the 2019 Audi e-tron, their flagship EV, has won the 2019 Top Safety Pick Award from a certain type of test. It's done by the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. I hadn't heard of this before, but it's obviously very common. The IIHS. So they have tested the Audi e-tron, and it's the first EV they've tested to get their top award, making it the first EV to earn such recognition. The award for the e-tron, says Engadget, is gutting for Tesla. Well, this is the interesting thing. The Audi e-tron is the first car to get this because they haven't tested the Model 3. So how can you say that the e-tron is better than a Tesla when they haven't tested the Model 3? And this is the frustration with mainstream media, like Engadget, because it's like, they're going for clicks or whatever they're going for. It's just, it's unnecessary antagonism. And we should just be positive and happy that EVs are passing these safety tests. Let's get to the bottom of it. The truth is, in the Electric article that I found today, Electric say this: last year, IIHS started testing the Model 3 and found that it has a superior rating for front crash prevention, but the agency has only just started doing crash tests on the Model 3 this week. The results are expected to be released soon. The Model 3 car has been on sale far longer than the Audi e-tron, and this particular company chose to test it a long time after the e-tron. Interesting. Something doesn't ring true to my tiny brain. Let's talk about the Model 3, and Model 3 fever is hitting South Korea. Images of long lines of people waiting to see the Model 3 were recently shared by the South Korean Tesla community members. One of those depicted a crowd of interested people lining up outside a Tesla store to see it. The scene in South Korea's outlets invoke images of wherever the Model 3 has been unveiled, whether it was those years ago in the US or the first time I saw it in the UK 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Was it 1 year ago? Goodness, time flies. And whenever it goes to a new country, people go mad for it. According to Teslarati, well, Simon at Teslarati says the key reason behind South Korea's interest in the Model 3 could lie in its price and the subsidies. Well, Tesla lists the Model 3 Standard Range Plus with a starting price of 52 million won, $43,000. But thanks to an EV subsidy of 9 million won in South Korea, about $7,500, from the national government, 11 million won, about $9,000, from provincial governments, you could get a Model 3 Standard Range Plus for the equivalent of $26,500. That's base trim. But that's not a lot of money in US dollars. I'll put a link to Teslarati in the show notes. Final story today. You know that solar road that you might have read about? Well, there's more than one around the world, actually. Let's talk about the one that was in France. It was a disaster. They got it wrong. Some people think roads could do more than just transport cars and trucks. Some people think that actually the asphalt could generate electricity if you replace it with solar panels. The most prominent test was a 1 kilometre stretch of road in Normandy, France, and it's been recently evaluated and considered a fiasco, according to the newspaper Le Monde. According to InsideEVs, the descending efficiency of the road can be credited to many things. Rotting leaves that were falling on top of it made the road too loud, and they had to reduce the speed of cars going across. There were thunderstorms. Tractors caused the road to stretch. Panels became loose, and it led them not to fit with each other anymore. Cars, trucks, and tractors were breaking the panels loose, and when that happens, they were simply discarded. The whole thing didn't work. There are other places in the world where these solar road experiments are going much better. This French one hasn't worked. I don't know. Like, is the road the best place for solar panels? Like, you can put them on the roof of many things, even if you're after state electricity companies, like government run. I mean, they have plenty of buildings. But if you want to put solar panels somewhere, what about roofs where they don't get rolled over by trucks and the leaf fall isn't so bad? I don't know. It's just a crazy idea. I think a roof could be a really good place for a solar panel. Let's talk about a big event coming to the UK. It's called EVs in the Park, and it's coming back, I should say, because if you are an EV owner of a 100% electric vehicle or a range extender vehicle like the BMW i3, then you can bring your car onto the park where this is being held. It's called EVs in the Park. It's in Coventry. Sadly, no plug-in hybrids or soft hybrids because of the rules, because you are taking these cars onto the sort of local grassland and stuff. So as long as your car's full electric, you can come along and bring it, or it's a battery, it's a range extender. It's a family event. Bring the kids, bring the dogs, bring a picnic. The weather for next Saturday is looking stunning. It's going to be gorgeous. Beautiful August Saturday. It's been running since 2015 when 5 cars turned up and now hundreds of people are expected. It's a free gathering of EVs in the UK, and you can register and get your ticket for free. Go to EVs in the Park website, evitp.co.uk, and all you've got to do is just pop your details in, say, yep, I'm coming, bring in a car, and you get your tickets. If you are interested, if you're in the Midlands, anywhere near Coventry, next Saturday, and if you're EV curious, come along and you'll be surprised, because if there's one thing that EV owners like talking about, it's their damn cars. I'll be there as well. And if you want to know anything about EVs, you're going to have a captive audience of people that will not be shy in telling you about how much they love their cars. Let's talk about our question of the week this week with myev.com. How should car makers advertise EVs? How should car makers advertise EVs? Email me your thoughts. Either do it on Patreon or Facebook or YouTube, or email me hello@evnewsdaily.com. There are 235 patrons of the show. Thank you very much for paying the bills and keeping me going. By no means do you have to be a Patreon. In fact, the majority of people aren't Patreon subscribers, and that's absolutely fine, by the way. If you want to see the full list of names on every show note, you can do that at evnewsdaily.com. Thank you to Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, and Avid Technology. There are 550 previous shows online for free, and the blog has all the details you need to know to get new shows. Make sure you subscribe on all of your favourite platforms, just to be sure to always get it. Just subscribe for free on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Spotify is a really big one now. If you want to say hi on the socials, search EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow, and remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.